Hello, I hope you're well. I am back with another video because it turns out I have a lot of thoughts and feelings to voice. Now, this week, I was going through all of my old photos and videos because every single year, I've only started doing this last year and I'd like to continue this little tradition this year. But I go through all my old photos and videos and I take out the live ones, I take out the photos and I compile them into like this little short clip of how my year's gone and all the photos that like didn't make the cut. And there's a lot of photos, there's a lot of videos. I take photos and videos of everything. I feel it important to capture every single memory going because I have terrible memory, right? I have absolutely atrocious memory. And whilst it might be a little bit of cringe is okay, cringe is cool as long as you own it. I think it's quite chic personally, but you know, it's subjective really. And whilst I was going through those photos and those videos, I ended up going back a couple of years too. Like I was fully self-reflecting. I was in flow state. It was a trance, and I was sort of thinking about how I've changed so much and how my life has changed so much, dramatically actually, for the better. I'd like to think, you know. And I was sort of thinking about how like I was staying attached to stories that don't belong anymore. And what I mean by that is I was holding on to a lot of photos that didn't really serve me any purpose. Now that seems quite silly, and you know, I could be on about screenshots, I could be on about photos of exes, and I'm not saying that you should delete any of those because, to be honest, it's a lot of effort. And who knows, you might need those screenshots, and you don't have to get rid of those photos of exes because they're your memories, regardless of if it ended badly, if it ended well. If you've moved on, you're allowed to keep a hold of those memories. That's okay. You know, they belong to you. And if you're like me and you've got terrible memory, who am I to judge? You know, but I did end up deleting quite a few. Needed to clear out my phone for space. But the point that I'm trying to make is that who I was feels both very close and very far. I'm not the same. I've experienced so much change, and for reference, I was having a big conversation with someone that I don't know anymore. And there was a lot of reflection, not on my behalf, but on his. And, you know, he was talking about how he still knew me, you know, he knows me. And the thing is, we met up with each other fleetingly last year, you know, and I've known him for maybe like 2 years now. And I say known very loosely. I've been acquainted with him for 2 years now. And he was talking about how he knew me, and I pointed out that was very flawed because he doesn't know me at all. Hardly knew me then, does not know me at all now. And, you know, there's so much about me that has changed, where I live, who I know, my routine, how I do my makeup, how I dress, how I treat people, how I want to be viewed by other people, how I take care of myself. You know, I've changed the toothpaste that I use. I don't use the same skincare. I make my coffee in a different way. I've sold a lot of clothes that I might have worn whilst knowing them that I find don't suit me now and don't present me in the way that I want to. And that was a very valuable point that I made, that he did not know me at all. And that I've changed, and I will always be changing because I'm not being funny. Who I am now is not the same person that I was 3 months ago. Who I am now is not the same person as 6 or a year, you know. And my point is that change is the only constant. And that is a terrifying thought for a lot of people, and that's understandable because, you know, it's something that you have no control over, and something that you have no control over can make you feel powerless. Understandably so, but you know, it's very important to take that with open arms and see what you can do with it. And you know, I say this phrase a lot, I say it to my friends a lot, and I know they probably hate it from me, but I think it's very valuable in many different contexts. So a little fun fact for you is that every single second we lose 60,000 stars from our visible view forever, never to be seen with a telescope again. The universe is this supermassive vacuum, ever expanding. And in this specific context, I'd like to highlight that this means that you have no control over the world. You have no control about how things are constantly changing, and that's a beautiful thing in itself, you know. you can always make change. And this goes back to the last video really, but I'd like to highlight nostalgia in itself in this video. Now, going through those photos, I was realising that a lot of things had ended abruptly. Me being able to see, visit specific restaurants or people that I might have known. And, endings don't always wait for clarity and closure. Things will always end abruptly, whether you like it or not, and it's about how you take it. You might never get closure over something, and that in itself is closure. That in itself is the clarity that you need to move forward. And yes, you're allowed to grieve. Grieve is a natural process of losing something, I'm still grieving my favourite chunky ring that I lost 2 months ago. It was beautiful, it was silver, don't get me wrong, it's fake silver, but I loved it. Although I do feel like it's lingering somewhere in this cesspit. Very tidy cesspit now, but regardless, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. But when you cling on to these things and you don't allow yourself to move with it, nostalgia becomes a disease. It eats at you, it claws at you, it will hide itself and burrow itself into every corner of your life where you will not be able to move on. You must confront these feelings face on, and you must deal with it in due time accordingly, because if you don't, it will just seep and take over you. And again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel things. You're not, you're fully allowed to grieve, and you should grieve, and that's healthy. But the more you cling on to things, the harder it will be to let go. Now, I'm not saying delete photos of your exes. They're your photos. They are your memories. You are fully allowed to keep them. That's completely okay. But when you cling on to these things, you don't really allow yourself to live in the moment. And that is a very, very important thing to do. I take all of these photos whilst living in the moment, and some people might argue that I'm not living in the moment, I'm just, taking these photos for whatever reason. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I live in these moments every single time that I review these photos. And that's not me saying that I'm clinging on to them, clinging on to the past. I look at it fondly and move on. Every couple of months I'll look back, live in it fondly, move on. I won't be like, oh my god, I miss the summer. Oh my god, I miss this person. I wish they were back in my life. No, I'm like, oh, that was a very valuable memory to me. I'm glad I got to experience it. Time to make more. And it's that mindset that will keep you powering through. And this is the point of the video, is that everything must pass. Everything must pass. Everything must change all the time. And you really got to welcome it with open arms. Now, this video was sort of inspired by like a George Harrison, because obviously George Harrison passed 24 years ago. His album, All Things Must Pass. And it got me in a lot of thoughts and feelings in the process. But it holds a very valuable point, everything must pass. And you've got to drill that into your head. It's taken me however long to come to this conclusion. It's only really this year that I came to this conclusion. I wrote a blog piece about this last winter. It seems that every single winter I get into like a creative hobby, but I found that this is my style. And it really does ring true, and it's helped me move forward and move beyond a lot of things this year. And it's helped me come to realise that, like, I am in control. I have the power to navigate my feelings, and it's not fair to let others have a dictation over that, or other experiences have a dictation over that, or, it's one of those things that only you can control, and it's about how you take it. You've just got to allow things to wash over you. That's okay. But keep moving forward. I'm going to do that thing where I say that I end this video here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that right now. I'm ending this video here. I got a lot of well-received feedback about the layout and about how I executed the last video, so I think I'm going to stick with this style. And keep on with introspection, because I love introspection. I love a bit of self-reflection. I like understanding where my head's at and helping my friends understand where their head's at, which is quite lovely. But yeah, I hope you're all happy and healthy. I Hope you have a good day today. I know I am, because the sun's shining and I look very cool for work. I'm actually going to run late for work because of this video, but that's what they get for calling me in last minute. But yeah, love you all.